Women for Cities. 5 women share their work on sustainable urban development, building cities for all, implementing the global goals locally, leaving no one behind. What is Spark?
I founded the organization called SPARK, which is Society for the Promotion of Area Resource Centers. And we work in an alliance in India of SPARK, Mahila Milan and NSDF. And we started this work in 1984, working with women who live on the pavement. When they were facing almost routine evictions because they live on the sidewalks, their houses would be broken, they would rebuild it. And this is in Mumbai. So over a period of time, we were able to stop the evictions. But the question after that was, what now? What are we going to do now?
How do you stop the evictions?
In 1995, there was a Supreme Court, our highest court's order, in a case that had gone up where the lawyers who were talking on behalf of the pavement dwellers said that people should have the right to live where they are. And the court felt very sorry for the people, but they said that they would, that the city has the right to evict them because the larger good of needing the pavements for people to walk far superseded the right of the few to live there. So there was a threat. So what we did was we undertook the first enumeration, that is a census of all the people who live on the pavements, to show to the municipality that they were the poorest people who were landless in rural areas. They had come into the city to find work and feed their children, and they chose to live on the pavements because they earned so little money they couldn't afford public transport. And we took this data right from the municipality to the state government, to the national government, and to international agencies to say that it is the business of our central government to find a solution for these people, because the absence of development investments in their cities and districts was the reason why they had come.
What happened within the community?
It took us 10 years, during which they formed a federation of the communities. We found that there were 30,000 households approximately in the city who lived on the pavements. We mapped everybody, they formed their women's groups, they did lots of documentation and advocacy. And so the most interesting thing that we all did together was the women started envisioning what kind of a house they would have. And for the first time in the city, we had a competition where 4 different communities built 4 different houses, and everybody voted which house they wanted. And so the house that became popular was a house that was 14 feet tall with a mezzanine, and its footprint started with being 180 square feet and now has grown up, but that's the model. It took us 10 years to get our municipality to accept that whenever there was road widening or there was any project, that people who lived on the pavement on those roads should be relocated. And so this became a policy not only for the slum dwellers and the pavement dwellers who were part of our project, but also for others, so for everybody. And the first group of people who started this movement 15 years later got a plot of land to build their house with this design. So that cooperative exists.
What lessons learned and recommendations can you share?
That produced for us a blueprint of how communities from other parts of the city and from other cities could do some. They formed savings groups, they collected data about themselves, they sought land. If they couldn't get land where they were staying, they said we would design the relocation. And they said, if the state gives us some subsidy money, we will blend it with loans and build our houses. So in different parts of the country, we have used this method to build houses that community women have built, that demonstrate that poor people build better, larger houses for the same amount of money that would have been given to a contractor to build for them. And we have helped our government to build a relocation policy for those households that live on land where you cannot rebuild. So another huge project which our federations were involved was where we have 120,000 households in Mumbai who live on near the railway track, and we identified about 20,000 households. Those people designed where they would like to move. The government helped build some of the houses, we built some of the houses, and they moved there, and that's become an international precedent. And our federation leaders in Kenya, in Philippines, and in other cities who are facing this kind of railway problem now use this as an example to dialogue. So this process also is evident in smaller towns where we map the city. We look at how we can upgrade houses using government subsidies, how we can improve water and sanitation. And the system is the same.
Yeah.
You form the groups, you collect the data, you decide what you want to do, and you go to the municipality, you present your solutions to them. And now both in South Africa, India, and in many other countries, we form our own financial and construction company that blends all these monies and helps poor women to take up contracts to build their own houses.
How do the federations and other actors cooperate?
So our federations are huge and very strong. So very often when, we know that in all cities, slum dwellers go and squat on people's lands because there is no planned allocation for them. And therefore those lands become, in a way, useless for development interventions. So we helped in Mumbai to develop a policy where the city would give the land, and either the community or organizations like ourselves, or a combination of private sector, communities, and ourselves would get together and rebuild houses and work out a financial strategy that would allow this to coexist so that the market could finance. It's called the slum rehabilitation policy, which is very unique in Mumbai. And so many private landowners who had slums on their land, the slum dwellers didn't trust them, but they trusted the federations. So we would do a joint venture where it was their land, so they would get some compensation for their land, which otherwise they wouldn't get. The residents would get a house, and so it was like a win-win for the city.
Do you have any other recommendations to others?
If you look at the STI family, we operate now in 33 countries. It is now a standard procedure that you form women's groups in the neighborhoods. You help them and the youth in those neighborhoods to collect good quality, comprehensive data about themselves. You help either aggregate the data at the city level or disaggregate the data to a community or a neighborhood level. Because no city gathers data about informality.
No.
The census doesn't have a classification. And so by poor people gathering data about themselves, they produce quantitative information that then forces the municipality to look at these people as requiring it. And so now that we have SDGs, for instance, all our countries have committed and signed off to the SDGs. But poor people are not seen as the face of that SDG. So we say, you are not leaving anybody behind, but you're also not going to leave any geography behind. This is the geography that you have ignored. So getting water and sanitation, producing better quality livelihoods, providing secure tenure, exploring partnerships between different elements in the city to find solutions. Because at the moment, the city is evicting the people, that means they're fighting with the poor. The private sector is trying to engage the city to do the eviction so that they can get the land. We're saying, don't fight. We are sharing the same geography. So how do poor people who were always the victims of development interventions become proactive and central to the solution is really the big picture strategy that STI shares with poor people. And we are very committed to assist and support anybody who wants to learn. You know, it's not like it's our private solution. It's something that we share. We now realize that one of the great things about the SDGs is it's not just about the global south. It's about looking at poverty in the north, looking at inequality in the north. And there are many things that we do that can make sense to communities that are in distress, who have come from conflict or have come out of climate change problems. And they can use these to help their local authorities to start doing things that they need, rather than for the city to spend money on things that poor people don't need or don't want and who will walk away. That means it's a waste. So how do you get a relationship of trust between people who have faced lots of challenges and problems and municipalities whose job it is to do this work, to do it collaboratively? I think that's the most important message that we have for everybody else, and that if women are not at the center, you can be sure that that's not a sustainable solution.